Hey guys, I had my boy's birthday party today. My oldest boy turned 14, and we were out riding some of the bikes. And I was riding this one here, and was fine. And then all of a sudden, the right pipe just quit, just fell dead. So I'm pretty sure it's just a dirty pilot. As a matter of fact, I know that's what it is. And I was gonna actually take care of it real fast, but I figured I'll do a video on it. Let me show you what happens when one of your pilots plugs up. All right, so it's running on the left pipe right now. That's it. Right pipe is completely dead. So when you guys run across this could be the issue. This pipe is, you can tell it's just air coming out. Completely cold, it's not hitting at all. What you can do to find out if it's a fuel issue, a lot of times, reach over, pull your choke, the half choke. Now you hear this pipe, I mean there's nothing there, it's dead. Alright, I'm going to pull the half choke and you're going to hear that pipe wake up. There it is. There's choke, half choke. Alright. It ain't running right, it's just running. It's getting some fuel at least. Now I'll turn the choke off and that pipe will die. See there? On. Oh. So all that is a dirty pilot jet, and it's simple to take care of. I'm going to go inside and do the party thing, and then I'll come out. It'll probably be dark, and what we'll do is just pull the box off, pull off that right side carburetor only, throw it up on the bench. We'll take the pilot out, take a look at it, clean it, put it back together, and fire her up. So stay tuned. Alright guys, it's time to get this done. Got my belly full of barbecue and I'm ready to get this done so I can get inside. So I got it rolled up in the shop and we're gonna start off holding the camera by hand here. It's gonna be a little shaky, then I'll have you guys up on a tripod. So first things first, my lens is filthy. Okay, we're gonna turn the fuel off. The glare should go away once I'm on the other side. So we'll turn the fuel off and we're only going to pull the right side carburetor because that's the one causing the issue. So fuel, and then loosen your clamps up from your air box to your carb that go here. Mine are, I don't know how I did that. I left both of them off when I put the bike together. Hopefully they didn't suck too much dirt in there. They fit pretty tight, so they should be okay, but I'll definitely put those back on. So loosen up your clamps from your air box to your carb on both of your carbs, because you're gonna have to pull your airbox off even though you're only pulling one carb. And then you're gonna want to loosen the clamp on the carb you're pulling off. In my case, I'm only pulling one carb off, so we're gonna loosen this clamp off. Okay, so we have our fuel turned off. Per se, we have the clamps loose on the boots to the back of the carb and everything else. Now we need to pull the airbox out real fast. My airbox isn't going to take long at all because I did my little mod on mine, so mine will come right out. Let me get the tripod here. See if my light will last long enough. Okay, going up. Okay. Your bike's pretty well stocked. These bolts are going to be a 10mm head. Go ahead and back those right out. And I just throw them here. Good enough. My airbox will come right off because, like I said, I've done the mod on mine. I don't have to fight it. Check this out. I will have to squeeze it around the little tab there. It holds up. But then, unhook the wires from the side of it, and far enough back for me. Okay, now I'm gonna see. I think I'm gonna move you guys around the back, change my lighting angle. See how that looks there. Yeah, it looks good. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and pull off this carb cap. Pull the slide up and out, lay it gently over the pipe. Go ahead and disconnect your fuel line. Pull it right off. Fuel's off, so it'll drip a little bit and then it'll stop. Go ahead and reach in and grab your choke tube off of there that connect both carbs together. And if you don't have any vent lines like I do, your carb is ready to come off. Really quick and simple. Okay, let's get over to the bench and get this set up. Let's see here. Before we throw it on the bench so we don't get gasoline everywhere, I have to excuse my mess. All my bikes are out right now and all that because of the birthday party. But what you can do, just take and turn it upside down. Just let all the fuel run out of it. That way when you stand it upside down your bench and you crack the bowl off, all the fuel doesn't gush out, or it doesn't, you know, obviously come out of your vent lines. Rock it back and forth a couple times. Okay, let's go to the bench. Alright, I kind of have the camera set up to where you're basically standing right next to me on my right side. So, give me a little bit of air. Hopefully it doesn't get in the mic of the camera. We'll just go ahead and pull this bowl off. Get yourself a clean work area. A couple of those shop towels be just fine. Pull the bowl off. Yeah, see, I don't have a splash guard in there. No big deal. I've never had any issues not running them before. Okay, we'll go ahead and take our pilot out. For the record, if you guys are wondering, this bike is jetted with a 300 main. So we'll reach in here. And I'm going to try not to disturb it too much, because if there's trash in there, I want to see it. I don't want to like maybe dislodge the trash before I get it out. So it's screwed out. Dump the pilot out. Brand new pilot. And look at here. Where's my pen light at? Can't see it. But it is definitely plugged up. So I'm gonna cut the camera off for a second. I'm gonna fire up my air compressor so I can blow it out real good, and we'll put it back together. Alright, got some air now. So I don't have any carb cleaner right now, so I'm just gonna take and blow some air through it. And I'm gonna blow through the opposite way so it blows the trash back out. There we go. And I'll blow through the carb orifice where the pilot goes. We'll take a look at it now and see if we can see through this pilot. Yeah, it's wide open. See if you guys can see it now. The camera would focus. I think you guys can see through there, right? Focus? Nope, ain't gonna focus. Alright, well, we got it clear now. So we're gonna just drop it right back in and reassemble it. That's all there is to it. We'll fire this puppy back up real quick and see what it does. Everything's good and clean. I mean, it's spotless, so we'll just put it back together. If you happen to have one of these Black & Decker lithium 20 volts, I use a number 3 on the torque setting for the bowl. Works great. It's not real tight, but it's just tight enough that it doesn't leak. My bit is a little worn. Be sure you apply enough pressure so that they don't, you know, round off. All right, so now we can go back to the bike. All right, we just stick it back on the way it came off. Don't forget your choke tube. Pop it in place. We'll go ahead and take our choke tube and put it on, and it goes on these nipples here. The topmost nipple on both carbs on the inside. This one to this one. Take and slide it on. That one's actually a little short, but it does the job. We'll go ahead and plug our fuel line back in. Move our clip down. We can go ahead and turn the fuel back on now. Let the bowl start filling back up. And then our slide. Remember, the curved side faces the back. If you're on the right side of the bike, if you happen to be working on this car, You want to be sure this slot right here with the idle screw contacts faces you, and this dot right here faces you. Drop it on in. Be careful when you get your cap started because both the body and the cap's aluminum, so they're easy to cross thread. Okay, all that's done. Now we're going to take and tighten up that clamp on the carb, on the intake. Okay, so fuel's back on, all hooked back up. I think we're going to go ahead and fire it up and see how it sounds now. See, we got both pipes blowing. There we go. Sounds good now. Enough of that. Okay, we'll get it back on the tripod, and all we have to do is put our air box back on, so you guys can burn off and do what y'all got to do, or y'all can hang out while I put this air box back on just real quick. Slap the seat back on it. Call it a night. Time to go in the house. Oh yeah, here's the air box. Forgot it's still laying here. So I'm gonna have to dig out some clamps. I'll do that tomorrow, but for video's sake, for completion purposes, if you have your box modded like I do, have your ears cut off here and the ears cut off the frame, it'll just slide right back on. Just slide your boots back on the carbs like so. Let's see here. Let me get it over these tabs here where it belongs. There. So we'll slide it back on the carb boots. Huge shadow here. I can't see quite what's going on. There we go. We'll go around and be sure the other side's all the way on. Yep. Alright, and that's it. We'll just put our bolts back in. Air box back here, one there, one there, and again we're going to pretend we're going to tighten up our clamps on our air box that go to the carbs. Tomorrow I'll dig out a set of clamps. I may have to run to the parts store. Usually what I do if I can't find the OEM style is I'll just go down to the auto parts store and grab a set of, you know, the silver, the stainless ones or whatever. And I'll just take some flat black, paint them black. That way they're not so obvious, and they look fine on there. So that's it. Just pop this baby off one more time, and I'm gonna tell you guys something here before I end this video. Alright, cool. So, now, for you, those of you that are wondering, well, how come, you know, one pipe was dead, or how come it would rev or whatever. The thing is about the carburetors, and let me see. Hang on. Let me find a carburetor I can show you guys an example on. It's going to be a really rough demonstration, but I'm going to try to get my point across. Okay, so what I wanted to tell you guys is, like, I ain't no carburetor professional or nothing like that. I can hold my own, and I can tune a Banshee and, you know, tune quads and all that good stuff. And I have an understanding of how the carbs work. I'm just not real good at portraying or transferring information to other people. I try through my videos the best I can, so I'm sure someone will probably call me out on me and correct me somewhat, but I'm going to try to explain how these freaking carbs work for those of you that don't really have a clue at all. They have 3 different circuits. You're going to have your idle circuit, which controls what it sounds like, your idle speed, and it also controls up to a quarter throttle. Past a quarter throttle, you're no longer on your idle circuit. Your pilot jet isn't a factor anymore, even though it does overlap the needle, and the needle does overlap the main at some point. Okay, so you have your air screw right here. Your air screw control. Wish I had a small screwdriver here. I'm gonna use a T-handle for now. Here you have your air screw right here, and your air screw comes in through here, and it opens and closes the passage. And so you have your air jet right here, drawing air in, and it's drawing air directly across the pilot jet. So it's creating a vacuum. As air is passing over that pilot jet, what it's doing is just siphoning fuel into the carburetor, and this screw here determines how much air is allowed to pass through there and draw in, you know, X amount of fuel and so forth. So when our pilot jet, as it was a while ago, was completely plugged up, the carb was dead. There was no way for the engine, for that cylinder to get fuel. The needle didn't matter. The main jet didn't matter, because at idle, all the fuel your engine is getting is coming through your pilot circuit. So the reason you could rev it and get anywhere in here or higher and the engine would come alive or wake back up is because as you come past a quarter throttle anywhere here, now you're starting to vacuum fuel. This needle here, the tapered area, starting to pass through this main jet holder, and now you're starting to vacuum fuel around that needle, out of that main jet, into the car body, and of course into the engine. So the reason it wouldn't do anything at idle is because everything was shut off. Only the pilot should be open. It was plugged, so it couldn't get any fuel. As you rev it, again, you start siphoning fuel from that needle, and then you go wide open. The needle is wide open. Your main jet is wide open. So now you've transitioned from your pilot to your mid-range in this area here to full-on main. Right here, your main is wide open. Every ounce of fuel that engine is getting is coming from the main. When I say every ounce, I mean 99.9% of it. You're still getting some fuel through your pilot, and you're still getting some fuel through your pilot, even though it's such a small amount. I mean, y'all know how small the pilot is. It really doesn't make that much of a difference whether the pilot is plugged or not. When that main is wide open, it's going to get all the fuel it needs. So that's how that works. How else can I explain it? Whenever you have throttle issues and you're like, okay, well, it's bogging in quarter, or it's bogging at 3/4 throttle, or bogging at right off idle. Well, right off idle, when you take off, you don't take off like this. You don't take off like that. You barely crack it. You're just, oh, you're taking off. So what's happening is you're opening this up right here, and if you bog, then most likely you're still on your pilot circuit. So don't think it's your needle that needs adjustment. If you're bogging in this area right here, richen your air screw, which means screw in on this. That'll richen your idle circuit, and that will give you more fuel when you start cracking the throttle open. If you're already lean here at idle, and then you start feeding it more air like that just to take off, what's going to happen? You're going to be more lean. So you want to actually be a little on the rich side here, so when you crack that throttle, it doesn't go from lean to leaner and bog on you. Now, if you're anywhere in this range here, from here to here, that's mid-range. That's going to be needle issues right there. If you're right here and the engine is just stuttering along and it doesn't want to clean up, doesn't want to pull, and it's just breaking up like a kind of like a chainsaw or a weed eater whenever it's cold and you haven't warmed it all the way up yet, okay, well, that means your needle is going to be too rich. What you need to do is take your needle and raise the clip in order to drop the needle. When you drop the needle, it's got to come up higher out of the main jet to deliver the same amount of fuel it does at the same throttle position. So that's how the needle and all that crap kind of works. I'm going to try to explain to you guys how the needle adjustments work and how the whole needle system works. In my head, I know exactly how it works. It's clear as day, but yet it's hard for me to transfer the information through words, put it into words, so just bear with me. I think I can get you guys to halfway understand what it means and how it works. Whenever I tell you or someone tells you, say you have a problem and they tell you, well, drop your clip one groove. Okay, you go do it, but do you understand why, or do you have any idea what's happening? Well, what the needle does, I have a needle right here, and see it's got the different grooves on it. The more you lower your groove, the higher it starts out. Say, for instance, everything I'll reference to is going to be at idle with the slide all the way down. Say you have your needle on the third clip. Right here where I have it now. So the needle is just per se, the needle say it's sitting right here. Now if you were to go ahead and drop that clip all the way to the bottom, well, it's sitting in the slide right here, right? So when you drop that, it's gonna raise the needle a hair. So at idle, the needle starts out higher already. So when you go to start cracking your slide open, your needle's already basically got, if you will, a head start, because you've got the clip lowered, so it's already starting out higher in the bore than it would be if your clip was up here. I hope that makes sense. So what happens is whenever you're, say you start out here and you're at idle and you take off, anything from here, I'm going to touch on this again real quick. This is going to be pilot circuit. Your idle circuit, your pilot. When you get past here, anywhere from here to here, you're on the needle. Say you're at half throttle. At half throttle, your pipes are super hot. Seems to be running fine, running good and strong, but your pipes are just running way too hot for your comfort, and you know something's wrong. Well, more than likely, your needle is lean. Or say you've plug chopped it right here at half throttle and your plugs are white, there's no color on them. What you need to do is take your needle and drop it. Take your clip and drop it on your needle. What that's going to do, again, back to idle, that needle is going to start out higher right here. So as you start to raise the throttle, your needle is going to come up and out of the main faster, which in turn will bring the main on faster. If your clip is all the way at the top, then your needle is going to be way down low. So your slide is going to have to open so much more before that main starts to come on. So what does that mean? Your slide's opening so far before the main starts coming on, and you've got so much air passing through that you're running lean in your mid-range. So long story short, lowering the clip brings the main jet on faster. Raising the clip brings the main jet on slower, because it just determines where the needle sits prior to you cracking the throttle open. So I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense, and that kind of sheds some light on what you're doing whenever you adjust the clip. For instance, at half throttle right here, it's running real blubbery, kind of like I explained earlier, like a cold weed eater or chainsaw. You fire it up and you hold it wide open until it runs, smooth. Well, if you've got it here at half throttle and it's doing that, then it's too rich. What you need to do is you need to raise the clip in order to drop the needle, and that will shut the main off a little bit, or it'll bring it on later. Either way you want to look at it. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. That's how the needle works. The clip, again, the height of the clip just determines when the main comes on. At what point in this area the main starts to open. If the main starts to open too fast, you get a real blubbery, boggy mid-range and no power. If the main starts to come on a little bit too late, it can still run fine or run really good on you, but you can be really lean in the mid-range. So that's how that works. Main is self-explanatory. When your throttle's wide open, the most narrow spot of your needle is up out of your main there, so your main is basically wide open. Your main is flowing everything it can possibly flow. That's your three positions. You have your pilot circuit, your main is shut, your needle is shut. Right here you're coming onto your needle, and you're starting to vacuum fuel around the needle, and then right around here you're going to transition to your mid-range. To your main. Now, they all three overlap each other, like I said earlier. So here at wide open throttle, you're actually drawing fuel through your pilot also. It's a small amount, but you're still drawing some through the pilot. So I hope that helps, guys.